Today we're going to make a tiki drink, the Shrunken Skull. For this drink, you're going to need a tiki mug or a double old-fashioned glass, a jigger, a fancy straw, a cocktail shaker, a citrus juicer, a cutting board and a small knife, and optionally, a cocktail pick. This drink uses dark Cuban-Style Rum, Demerara Rum, Grenadine, fresh lime juice, and optionally a lime husk and pomegranate seeds for garnish. This is a great tiki drink, and always a crowd pleaser. It has a complex flavor, but unlike most tiki drinks, it's surprisingly easy to make. It only has 4 ingredients, 2 rums, lime, and grenadine, which are all fairly common. And depending on what rum you have on hand, it may only be 3 ingredients. Tiki drinks are essentially riffs on Jamaican punches and Cuban daiquiris, ones that use blends of different rums and exotic sweeteners. They all trace back to the founder of Tiki, Ernest Raymond Beaumont Gantt, who later changed his name to Donn Beach. He opened the first tiki bar, Donn the Beachcomber, in Hollywood in the 1930s. Some of the drinks on his menu, like the Missionary's Downfall, which is a cross between the Hotel Nacional and a frozen daiquiri, were not embraced by everyone. They were great drinks, but your average, rugged, Depression-era male wasn't going to be caught sipping on a cute little drink where a raised pinky is the implied etiquette. These guys were used to a different drinking experience, aesthetically speaking.
You want a drink or don't you?
I was just thinking of a flaming rum punch.
Hey, look, mister. We save hard drinks in here for men who want to get drunk fast.
I got it. Mulled wine.
That does it.
So to combat these fragile male egos, Donn devised a different system. He'd serve the same style of exotic punches and daiquiris, only rebranded to sound more intimidating, even dangerous. Drinks like the Zombie, Shark's Tooth, Test Pilot, Navy Grog, and Cobra's Fang, just to name a few. And on some, he'd ratchet up the stakes by slapping on a warning label of a 2-drink maximum. It was issued as a sort of challenge. Step right up and test your might. The intimidation tactic worked.
Okay.
And all of the tiki bars that came after carried on that tradition. Same with the dangerous names. Several variations on the themes of skulls, cannibals, and headhunters were found throughout the extended tiki universe. This is the mid-century recipe for this drink, as described by tiki historian Beachcomber in his book Grog Log. When I first saw it, I assumed this drink was a tiki-fied version of a Bacardi cocktail, which is just a daiquiri with grenadine instead of sugar. No doubt this drink has the daiquiri somewhere in its family tree, but it's more likely descended from Donn the Beachcomber's Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones was a drink that was explored in the 10th anniversary edition of Sips and Safari. It was made with 151 Demerara, Cuban-Style Rum, lime juice, passion fruit, grenadine, absinthe, and aromatic bitters. It's certainly a more complex drink, and one that's exciting in its own right. The Shrunken Skull ditches the absinthe, bitters, and passion fruit, and opts for the less potent variety of Demerara Rum. It's like a quick and dirty Skull and Bones. Mariano Lucadini worked for Donn for 17 years, nearly that entire time at the Chicago location. He was then brought on board to open and run the bar program at Mai Kai in Fort Lauderdale. Like other bars that imported drinks from Donn the Beachcomber, Mai Kai changed the names of several Donn the Beachcomber classics. Dr. Funk became Dr. Fong, the Pearl Diver became the Deep Sea Diver, the QB Cooler became the KO Cooler, and of course the Skull and Bones became the Shrunken Skull. And presumably with these rebrandings came Lucadini's little twists on the recipes. An interesting change from the Skull and Bones to the Shrunken Skull is that the drink became a lot less powerful with the use of a milder rum. However, on the 1950s era Mai Kai menu, it's pictured with an extra shot, so perhaps that's how they made up the difference in the strength of the drink. And if you want to serve your exotic rum drink with a side of rum, don't let me stop you. The idea of a shrunken skull is a bit of an oxymoron, because the way you create a shrunken head is by removing the skull. But that didn't stop contemporary pop culture from getting it wrong. And in this case, the name fit right in with the dangerous drink naming convention. Europeans, from the earliest explorers right up to the 20th century, were instantly and even diabolically fascinated with shrunken heads. This fascination gave way to a macabre yet unsurprising consumerism. Whether they came from South America or Polynesia, taxidermied human heads became a profitable commodity. The heads with the sewn lips and removed skulls came from South America, but Polynesia had a slightly different practice. In the southeasternmost part of Polynesia, what is now New Zealand, the Maori kept preserved heads as well, only they wouldn't be shrunken. These heads, or mocha mokai, were kept as trophies of war, or as a way to memorialize family members. And they would still bear the ceremonial facial tattoos known as moko. These tattoos were originally chiseled into the skin, and were designed to tell stories. This traditional Polynesian art was the inspiration behind the patterns carved into this mug. This gorgeous Shrunken Skull mug comes from Shima Ceramics, a ceramicist and bartender from the Bay Area, who tends to make collectible, usually non-traditional tiki mugs, including a frighteningly accurate Cthulhu mug. I like to garnish this drink with some pomegranate seeds and a lime husk. It fits with the drink's ingredients, and looks vaguely like a ceremonial offering of brains. For the rum in this drink, feel free to use your favorite flavorful blend, but I find the original combination to be an exciting one. The brash, charred wood flavors of the Demerara are offset by the bright fruitiness of the Cuban-Style Rum, and they make for an excellent pairing. You don't have to serve this one in a skull mug. It'll still taste great in a double old-fashioned glass, but it's certainly a lot more fun to drink it out of a skull. Before I get started, I like to cut, squeeze, strain, and bottle my lime juice. That way it's easier to pour when it comes time to measure. In this case, you'll want to hang on to the spent lime shell. Next, prep your garnish. Take the lime shell, spear it on your cocktail pick, and spoon in some pomegranate seeds. The cocktail pick is just there to help the garnish stand up in the drink, which you might need depending on how much ice you use. Then measure an ounce of Demerara Rum. Add that to the shaker. Measure an ounce of gold Cuban-Style Rum. Add that to the shaker. Measure an ounce of Grenadine. Add that to the shaker. Measure an ounce of lime juice. Add that to the shaker. Add ice, and give everything a good shake to chill it down and get some dilution. Pour the contents of your shaker unstrained into your tiki mug, or double old-fashioned glass. Then drop in your garnish, and slide in your straw. And there you have it, a pink daiquiri wrapped in danger. The Shrunken Skull. Akule Maluna. You can support this channel by clicking on the Patreon link here. Check out some more videos, be sure to subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For links, more info, and the printed recipe, check out the description below.